for the others who are not here. All right, close that. All right, and now I am going to share my screen. It is right here. All right, so today we are going to focus on so we are going to focus on the topic of empathy, and the work that we're going to do this coming couple of weeks is going to focus in that area. And so the first thing is I would love to get to know you guys a little bit better, and I would like for you all to know each other as best as you can. And so we're going to do a little bit of a get to know you kind of activity. And so this first activity is where the west wind blows. And if we were in person, we'd all be standing in a circle. There would be somebody in the center, and they would say something that is true about them. And anybody who had that same thing to be true about them would move out of the position that they were in and take somebody else's position. But like you can tell, we are not together in person. So we have modified it to be a virtual version. And so what we will do is we will just sort of go around our Zoom room, and we will allow each person to say something that is true about them, and then anybody else who finds that to be true about them will raise their hand. And so we can see how many people share similar things about each other. And our comments and our things, they can be very simple as I am the oldest child, I am a daughter of an Italian mother, something along those lines. It can be very detail oriented. I have diabetes. I've had it since I was 18. Obviously, that'd be harder for more people to connect with that. But feel free to think about something that is unique about you, that one will allow people to know something special about you, and also think about something that is something you want the people in this group to know about you. So that is the first activity that we are going to do. And then I have some cards with some questions on them that I'm going to randomly pick. And then we are going to see how it goes depending on how many people we are having right now. It seems like we have quite a few. We may try and just I don't want to put us into breakout rooms because that takes up too much time, but I might just have you share in the chat so that we can all get a chance to share, but that's not as engaging. So I'm sort of playing with that one. I'm not sure how I want to go with that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of questions that I want to put out there for the group. What does integrity mean to you? What are some ways in which our integrity can be challenged? What are some ways that we hold ourselves accountable? And then just another question about the difference between empathy and sympathy. And then I'm going to show you the different activities that I have outlined for us to do between now and the next time we meet. And I will grab that date for us. I don't have my calendar up right now, but I will grab that date for us before the end of the session. And then I just had a couple of videos. I'm not going to spend time with us watching them, but you have the opportunity to click on them and watch them at your leisure over the next couple of weeks. Okay, so that's the agenda for today. And I am going to stop my share so that I can see you all and be able to ask the questions and see your answers. Okay, so where the west wind blows, and so I'm gonna state a statement about myself, and if you agree with that statement, you're gonna put your hand up, and then I'm just going to tag each of you to do the same thing as we go until everybody's shared something. All right, and I make sure I can see everybody. Okay. All right. So my comment is that I am the oldest child in my family. So if that is true for you, go ahead and raise your hand as well. Wow, only one of us is an only child as well. That means that I'm going to tag you, Eva, to do the next statement, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. Could it be about anything?
Anything, yes.
Okay. Um, I'm studying a second language to be bilingual.
Ooh. Oh, got another yes on that one. Shrill, you're not entirely a yes, but yes, okay, got our hand up. And Abby, that's a cheerleading, I think. I love it. All right, Savannah, you go ahead.
Sorry, okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, let me think. Hmm. In I take my work and what I do very seriously, and a lot of the times I am the last to finish in a
Ooh,
group.
yeah. Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. Lots of us agree with that one. All right. So then let's go to Bailey.
Hmm. I am someone who was told a lot as a child that I was overly sensitive.
Yeah, got a lot of people who agree with that one for sure.
Could you repeat that?
Yeah, I was told a lot as a kid that I was overly sensitive.
Yes. All right, Delaney.
I am someone who takes my work home with me and doesn't always know when to go out of work mode.
Mhm. Very, very something we all have in common. So true. All right, Shannon, I'm going to have you go. And then Abby, if you plan to come off mute, that would be great next.
Let's see. I let's see. My comment is I have a pet who is also my emotional support animal.
Ooh, I love that one. Oh, look at that. That's fantastic. I love that. All right, Abby, go ahead.
Um, I am a very passionate advocate for um, human rights in general.
Excellent. I love that, everybody. And Shriel, go for it.
Hi, I'm just gonna say, I'll just say something like light. I'm left-handed. Is anyone else left-handed? There we go.
Look at that. That's fantastic. All right. I enjoyed that a lot. I'd love to know a little bit more about you guys. So if you want to do it again, that would be excellent. So let's see, what else can I tell you? I am a recovering perfectionist. Try not to make everything perfect, but man, is it hard. Excellent. 2 hands. Fantastic. All right. Let's go with Abby again.
This is my first time competing for Miss Maine.
Ooh. We got a couple of yeses on that one. Fantastic. Good job, everyone. All right. How about Savannah?
Oh, I didn't raise my hand, but I'll go.
No, it's okay.
Hmm. This is my second time competing for Miss Maine.
A second. Any other seconds? Okay, we got Bailey as second. Okay. Fantastic. All right. Shreel, will you go again?
Sure. I'll do something like random. I'm a proud Jewish woman. It's a big part of my identity.
I love that. Any other Jewish women in here? No. Okay.
It's okay. I know Maine has a small Jewish community. That's totally fine.
All right. Eva, go ahead again.
Okay, I actually thought of one. I tend to overcommit myself until I become too stressed to handle everything.
Yep, I think that's a very common for Delaney. How about you go again?
Course. I'll say as you get older and into the career force, like the first 4 years of being in my full-time career, I cannot stop saying yes to things. So I'm someone that recently has learned to start to say no, and that it's okay to say no to things.
Do you have a recommendation or a phrase that you use that isn't like no, but is like, I don't think I can commit to that, or some other kind of phrase that you've used?
Of course, yeah. I work in banking, so it's a little bit different because a lot of my no's are we look for every opportunity to not say no until we have to say no. Typically it's regulatory, but a big thing in my world is what can we do to get to a yes? So I always look for what can we do to get to a yes, but that might not be today.
I like that. I like that. And those kind of phrases are really helpful for other people to hear because I think many females have a really hard time saying no to things. And so any other, common phrases that you've found to be successful is really, really helpful. Like, I can't commit to that right now is another, like, I really would love to, but like my schedule's kind of busy right now. So it's like saying no, but you're also letting them know that it's not because you just don't want to. It's because you can't commit to it right now. So that's another good way to say no without feeling like you're like shutting somebody down. Let's see. Shannon, you want to give us another one?
Sure. I have one that I really liked and then I couldn't think of it again. So I'll just go with I am pursuing a career in the STEM field.
In STEM. Fantastic. I did that as well. Any other STEM related? There was an engineer on. Was that you, Shan? Were you the engineer?
Goodness,
In the
no.
Oh, I think
Jenny
it was Jenny last
she is.
week. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm pursuing nursing.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. And Bailey, can you give us another one?
Yeah, I'll do a bit more lighthearted. I am a huge nerd geek. Don't know which one is the proper term, but I love comic books and talking about my favorite book series and TV series and movies. And I actually have my water bottle right now that has my favorite cartoon characters on them. And that's just something that makes me really happy to talk about.
Oh, I love it. So fellow nerds out there, geeks, maybe your own thing, but yeah, fantastic. I love it. Yeah, that was really fun. I'm glad we did that. All right. So a couple of questions that are a little fun, a little bit get you thinking. Let's see. What are you passionate about right now? So go ahead and put it in the chat so that we can all see what everybody has. What are you passionate about right now? Hmm. Oh, I love your answers, you guys. So cool. Ooh, awesome, Shannon. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to pick just one thing. Oh, currently working on a project. Appreciate that one, Delaney. Okay. Here's another question. What book are you reading right now? Or just finished? All the Bright Places, Wildfire. Nice. Awesome. Take out your picture and make a book list. Let's see. What is your greatest struggle right now?
Did you say what was your greatest struggle?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Time. Oh, love it. Oh, good. So good. I think we could probably all feel some of those different times. Yeah. Social anxiety. Oh, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. And last one. What is the strangest thing you believed as a child? What is the strangest thing you believed as a child? Oh my gosh, so funny. All of these things about cars. Oh my gosh. Or under your bed. Something lived under my bed, right? Oh, so good. So good. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all of those things. Um, maybe we'll pull some more later, but these are really great cards. Great icebreaker kind of things. If my mom sprayed her perfume, let's her go away. That's moms are so smart. We can really come up with really great ideas to get you to go to bed. All right. So now on to some of our content. Now, one of the activities that was in addition to last week, you didn't have to do it, but I would love for us to explore a little bit about integrity. So my first question for us is to sort of explore what we believe integrity to be. And the very common definition that I will hear people say is like doing the right thing when nobody is looking. And that's a fine response, but I want you to dig a little bit deeper. I want you to think about, maybe give an example or give an experience in which you saw somebody using integrity, or you felt like your integrity was challenged. And I'm going to give you a minute to think about it. And then I want us to share. And I'm going to try and be quiet while you're thinking for a minute.
Do you want us to like raise our hand or something when we thought of our thing, or do you just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to just come off mute and share, that would be great. Or you can raise your hand. I don't want to be as formal as that, but Zoom can be really tricky when, two people unmute at the same time. But feel free to just, like, if you want, you can raise your hand, or if you want to unmute, you can. And so like I said, I'm going to give you guys a minute without me talking. And then I'll say, go ahead and answer.
It just kicked me off. So what were we doing?
Oh, so we are just sort of exploring the word integrity and what it means to us, and trying to go a little bit deeper than just doing the right thing when nobody's looking.
All right.
All right, so Shannon, go ahead and come off mute. Oh, Bailey, is your hand up? Your hand's been up for a while, so I will have you share as soon as Shannon is done.
Yeah, so to me, integrity kind of reminded me of the activity that, sorry, there was a train going by my apartment right now. It's a little distracting. I'm sorry about that. To me, it reminds me a little bit of the activity that we did for today, one of the values activity. Because to me, integrity sometimes means like sticking to your values and, knowing what those are and being able to implement that in your life. And for me, my top value was love. So an example that came to mind for me was a few years ago. I had gone to a music camp, like a summer camp, and I had a group of friends, and we all like to sit together at lunch. And there was this one girl who had autism spectrum disorder, and there was another girl who basically told her that she could not sit with us anymore. Like, she sat with us for a few days, and then I guess this other friend texted her and said, "Sorry, you can't sit with us anymore. You don't fit in with us." And so that really upset me and a few of my other friends. And so one of my other close friends, that was not the person, gets confusing, I'm sorry, that was not the person that sent that text, but another one of my friends and I were like, all right, we're gonna go sit with this other person today, like, because she was sitting by herself, and we were like, no, that's not okay. You can't just like tell someone they can't sit with you just because you don't agree with them, or you don't think they fit in. So we said, and I actually did message my friend that had sent the text and said, if this is how you're going to behave, I'm not going to sit with you anymore, because I will remove myself from this group, because that is not one of my values. Exclusion is not a value of mine. So that kind of fit into my top value of love, because everything that I do, I try to come from a place of love.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Go ahead, Bailey.
Jen, I want to thank you for doing that, because I am not officially diagnosed with autism, but my doctor believes that I have autism, so that meant a lot to me. And my top value is also love. So to me, integrity is doing the right thing even when it's to your own detriment. And this might not be the best example, but it's a very recent example in my life. I work at a daycare, and for the past 6 months that I've been working there, I was working in a classroom with toddlers, and I love them so much. But my boss asked me to switch rooms with another teacher, and I didn't want to switch, but I realized that me switching rooms would be best for everybody, especially the kids. So I did, and I've been really sad about it, but I also really like my new spot, so it was hard but gratifying in the end.
Wow. Bailey, thank you for sharing that with the group. Savannah.
Yeah, I would like the chance to go before it potentially kicks me out.
Get kicked out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I heard the first half of what Shannon had to say, and I actually wrote down something really similar. I said, integrity is sticking to your values. And my value, as I mentioned in the chat when we were describing what we were passionate about, I said that mine is being a light in someone's life. And to me, that also means inclusion and kindness. And especially with like as someone who's still in school, I am associated with my peers all the time. I see my peers more than I see my own family. And I've I've definitely had times throughout my experience in school where I've been left out, I've been bullied, and it really kind of made me feel like I was invisible. And instead of sitting there and dwelling on that, I take that into how I treat other people. And I don't want anyone to feel the way that I feel, and I want to make sure that I am providing a safe space just by being a friend. And that's why I sorry. I take that into everyday situations, my value of staying true to others and inclusion.
I appreciate that. That's really great. Thank you so much, Savannah. Shreel, did I see your hand up?
When I think of integrity, I think the one thing that pops up into my mind personally is self-worth. I think a big part of integrity is self-worth and to know when things resonate with you and when to walk away respectfully. So I was working at a job for 6 months. I'm taking a gap year right now because I graduated undergrad back in May and I'm gonna go back to school for like a higher degree. So I was doing a job in between and I was just working as a teaching assistant, and it wasn't really like a super serious job. It wasn't like I was kind of just helping out the teacher who was awesome. Like the kids were awesome, but my boss kind of like had a vendetta against me from day one. And like this woman is probably old enough to be my grandmother. She looked like I think she was in her 70s. So you know, having beef with someone like triple your age is kind of like, oh. So she was really mean to me and she made me cry a lot. And I'm not a person who like cries a lot. So I like laugh about it now, but like she said some really messed up things to me. Like she told me that like I have a maturity level of like a 16-year-old and I'm 23 and like different things like that. And it was like really like it was like I don't use the word bullying lightly, but like this woman would like bully me. Like I got sent to the office more than my own like students did. Like I would get sent once a month to get screamed at about something. So I think that like also with being like the youngest on your workforce, like drastically younger than everyone, it's also a little weird. Um, but yeah, so I kind of just decided that I put in my 2 weeks, and once I put in my 2 weeks, like she was really rude about it. She pretty much told me like good luck on like applying to law school, but just know that like I'm not gonna write you a letter of recommendation, and don't ask anyone in this school to write you a letter of recommendation. Not that I needed one, but it was really rude. I felt really disrespected. So instead of taking 2 weeks, I kind of just like I was like I emailed them and I was like, look, I don't feel comfortable. I don't think that you should talk to anybody the way that you treated me, but I wish you the best, and like letting you know that like for law school you don't need a letter of recommendation from someone you worked for unless they were a lawyer. So kind of like told her to like back off, but in a nice way. So I think that that was good.
of sort of standing up for yourself. Blaney.
I'm just going to kind of bounce off of that. I've recently experienced kind of the similar situations in a workforce, and there definitely is a stigma being young and being young with a higher level of education. I got my master's degree when I was 21, so I entered the workforce very early. But I also work with people that education wise don't have the same education to me, but they have years of experience on me. And I've faced a lot of just really same thing, kind of bullying. Like it's just, you kind of sit there and laugh at it. You're like, I cannot believe someone that literally is almost double my age is like threatened by me this bad, that this is kind of how they take to the situations. But really being able to stick to who you are with that and just not putting up with it. My company likes to use the sentence that they're a no a-holes company. But I surprisingly have found the few that are in there. So I just really stuck to my guns of going to my resources and going kind of where I needed to go to say, hey, like this isn't cool. Here's my documentation of why this was not cool. Like either I'm gonna leave or something needs to change. Like what can we do to create a better situation here?
Yeah, and I know that you're not alone, the two of you. I think especially young women, educated, we have a long road ahead of us in making people, see us for who we are, see us for who we like, what we bring to the table. And I also know from some of the conversations that I've had with some of you is that a lot of times people are very threatened by us and you. And so like thinking about how to disarm that feeling of threat that other people might have in engaging with you, and being curious, asking them why they're acting that way, asking how is this helping our relationship, how can I understand what is happening, like being more curious and sort of like turning the lens back on them in a way of like, tell me more about why this is happening. Share so that I can learn, but also you can hear the words that you're saying out loud and explaining them, and then trying to figure out, oh, actually, I don't know why I'm being so mean or why I'm feeling so threatened by you. When you come from curiosity, it aims at disarming the others. Eva.
So when I think of integrity, I think of honesty. Honesty is one of my biggest core values. And for me, honesty means telling the truth even when it can be difficult or when it may hurt other people's feelings. But I don't take honesty to the point where it's brutal honesty on a scale of like it's hurtful to others. Just being mindful of other people's emotions is always very important. But honesty is also sometimes difficult for me because I'm also still a people pleaser. So trying to frame something so that I'm telling my truth, but also being mindful of how it will affect others is really difficult. And while you guys were talking about your jobs, that reminded me of how recently I had to tell my employer that I found a second job and I wanted to work two jobs. I'm trying to save up money for my college education. And we recently had another employee leave about a month or two ago, and they were very like they kind of excluded her as soon as she said like she put in her 2 weeks, and now I feel kind of excluded in my work environment. So it's just kind of disappointing that being truthful and being honest kind of led to me feeling outcasted in a environment that I used to feel so welcomed in. But I'm glad that I could be honest with my employer and tell her the truth rather than trying to tiptoe around the truth.
I think you're right. I think it is really hard to stand in your truth, stand in your honesty. And when you do, and you feel like it wasn't the right decision because of how other people are treating you, makes it harder the next time. But I appreciate you sharing that you have reflected that, even though you felt this negativity in your workplace, you know that it was important for you to be honest. And I think that that's really valuable. Abby, go for it.
Yeah, so integrity for me, like a lot of you said, is kind of sticking true to your values and your belief systems. So an example would be one time I was with a group of people and they had a lot of questions about like LGBTQ plus people, and they were kind of misinformed on what it meant, like what certain terms meant. And yeah, so I kind of stuck true to myself by trying to educate them the best I could, instead of like just getting angry and shutting down and having an argument.
Yeah, it can be, as a teacher, I felt like a lot of times I would overhear conversations. And I think for me, my integrity was always challenged in like, I'm actually not really sure how to handle this because I know what's being discussed is not the right conversation, but I don't know how because of my own ignorance and my own uneducation in a lot of these spaces. And so, what I would always default to is that I know what you're saying is unkind and not helpful. I don't know what the right terminology or the right conversation to have. And so for me, I would say, and so I'm going to go learn, I'm going to go educate myself because what I am hearing, and I would say to those students, like, what I hear you saying, I know to be untrue and unkind. I don't know what is true and kind at this point, but I am going to go find out for myself so that I know that I'm not going to make that mistake. And I think that, a lot of times integrity is like stepping outside of our comfort zone and stepping in and being an advocate, like you've said, being an ally, being the person to step in as opposed to waiting for that person who maybe identifies as LGBTQ or identifies as a person of color to say that that's hurtful, right? So being that person who's not being hurt directly and standing in and saying, hey, I don't know, but I know that this doesn't feel safe and comfortable. And so when we can own our own uncertainty and our own uneducation, it makes other people stop and think, oh, maybe I don't also know. And I think that's a really valuable tool in integrity. Let's see. I feel like we've talked a little bit about how we hold ourselves accountable, but does anybody have any other thoughts about ways to hold ourselves accountable to standing in integrity and standing up for the things that we believe and our core values? What are some things that maybe you do to hold yourself accountable when you feel your integrity is challenged?
I
Sure,
think ste-
Delene.
I think stepping away sometimes is the best. I know working while I was in college, I worked in banking, and just the amount of moments that make you question your own integrity and the integrity of others. You'd have to step away and just say, like, this is not my circus. I just need to take a self second and reground myself and decide whether or not I can come back to this.
Oh, that's really, really powerful. Sometimes it's so hard, but yes. Yeah, Shannon.
Sometimes something I find myself asking a lot is if I'm feeling like something is upsetting me or I feel the need to make a reaction to something that's happening around me, is I kind of ask myself, is my reaction coming from a place of emotion, or is it coming from, logic and values? Because like sometimes the first response you have is the emotion response and you want to say, go do this to yourself. Like you want to say like the mean thing that comes to your head, but then you have to think like this the kind of when you take like kind of like Delaney said, or yeah, Delaney Joe. I'm still learning names. Is taking that step back and thinking about it like for a second and being like, what is probably the most appropriate reaction in this scenario that like will get everybody to back, on the same track. But yeah, oftentimes my first response is not the one that I tend to go with. So
I can relate to that for sure. My first response is always hot-headed and reactive and responsive. And I think, yeah, both of you sharing that, like, even if it's just to take a breath, even if you can't like extract yourself completely and walk away, but like, even if you can just take that single breath and say, how am I going to react to this situation? Yeah, Savannah.
Sorry, that took forever for me to find the mute button. But for me, I would definitely say communication with
Mm.
other people that I trust. Sometimes when I'm dealing with something, it feels like it's all in my head sometimes, and nobody else is feeling the same way. Nobody's seeing the same way or seeing the same things that I'm seeing. So I'll like Delaney said, I'll step away, but I won't do it. Sometimes I do it like I take time to think for myself, but I also take time to reach out to others that could potentially help me because they're in my life for a reason. And I know that they just having an outlet to talk about it can definitely it can make the situation make more sense in my head, and it makes me feel heard and seen too. Because communication is also one of my biggest values as well. And it definitely helps with my integrity.
I love that. And I think you bring up a really critical point, is having those people that will be honest with you, and not just be your yes men. I mean, we love the people to go to who just says, yeah, Lorraine, you're right. You got this. You did the right thing. But we also need those people in our lives who will say, actually, Lorraine, that wasn't probably the right thing to do. And, and not tell me what I should have done, but even just say to me, I don't think that was the right thing. Do you think that was the right thing? And, I know we know when we do something that's out of line of what we want to be doing, but we seek those people out who are going to say, oh no, you did the right thing. You did the right thing. But like, it is really, really important for us to have other people in our life who are going to reflect that mirror back to us and just ask us, hey, is that really what you think you should have done in that situation? And sometimes that's a therapist. Sometimes that's a coach. Like this is a coaching situation. And sometimes it's just a really important person that who won't just affirm that what you're doing is always the right thing. And so look at people in your life between now and the next time we meet and see if you have somebody like that in your life. And I think I should think about that too, because I definitely will tend towards looking for the person who's going to say, oh no, you're doing the right thing. You're absolutely in the right way.
Sorry, it kicked me out again. What was that last part that you said?
Oh, just, to find somebody in your life and just reevaluate, like check around and make sure that you have somebody. But yeah, you're good. Let's see. Okay. So yeah. So the only other thing that I want you to think about is think about the people who have been in leadership position who in your experience or, peripheral experience, and think about people who've been in those leadership position that struggle with integrity, and think about how much respect we have for those people, right? And so it's so much easier to push the truth away when we know that, maybe we're not being honest with ourselves or honest with the people that we're talking to or with. But think about how people who have been out of integrity in your experience and led you without that value of integrity, how that impacted their effect. And so when you're faced with a situation where you have to own something that you did wrong or own a mistake that you made with somebody and how hard that can be, just try and remember when other people didn't afford you that same integrity, how that impacted the relationship that you had with them. Okay. So now I want you to, before I share what we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks, I would love for us to think a little bit about the words empathy and sympathy. And I want you to think about, they're very similar and they look similar in a lot of ways when we demonstrate and behave, but there is a very distinct difference between these two words. So I want you to think about right now, while I pull up my calendar to see when we meet again, I want you to think about, is there a way that you can distinguish between the two words empathy and sympathy? And then I'm going to ask us to share, and then I will share our activities coming up. All right, so let's see, who's got an idea on how you might be able to distinguish between those two words? I am going to start with Delaney, but I would like to first ask you, would you prefer me say Delaney Joe or Delaney? Because I have just assumed that it's Delaney, but I would love for you to correct me. And if anybody else, if I'm saying your name incorrectly, please let me know.
It is Delaney Joe, but feel free to just use Delaney if you'd like to. I know it's a long name. It's okay. So I think sympathy is looking at someone's situation and appreciating that it's not your situation, but feeling bad that it's their own. Versus empathy is understanding that the actual emotions and the feelings of who that person is that's experiencing those feelings, and not necessarily having to be like, oh, I'm sorry that you're going through this, but like just having that same true emotional empath ability to feel it.
I don't think you could have said it any better, of like with sympathy, of appreciating it's not your situation. And I think I have heard a lot of examples of how to distinguish between those two words, but I love that so much. It's appreciating that it's not your situation, but recognizing that it's not a good situation for the other person. Thank you. Abby.
Yeah, so mine was kind of similar. Sympathy is kind of like feeling for someone, like feeling sad or upset that someone's in a situation. But empathy is being able to like put yourself in their shoes and try to see how what's going on is impacting them and how you can help them in a better way.
Excellent. Savannah.
Yeah, so mine, I've always had a little bit of a quick, short, simple definition for sympathy versus empathy. And it's sympathy is looking at a situation kind of regarding yourself and the other person, but empathy is more focusing more on the other person that's involved in the situation.
I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. So I have up on the screen the activities that we're going to do. I want to tell you that this empathy video from Brene Brown, if you have not seen it, it is excellent, and it is it really hits home. This video from Saturday Night Live is why it's hard to have empathy. And it's funny, but it hits home pretty hard for me, in that, like, if I truly want to feel empathy for someone else, it means that I have to walk in their shoes. And sometimes I don't want to wear those shoes. I definitely don't want to wear the shoes of what it was like to be a slave. That sounds very scary to me, and it sounds very hard. And so truly having empathy means that I'm willing to put those shoes on and walk in those shoes, and knowing that can be hard and that can be scary. And so that's, while it's funny, it does really bring home the point of why empathy can be a real challenge for many people. Okay, so we do not meet again until May 5th, and May 5th is 3 full weeks away. So we had met last week, and essentially we should be meeting next week. I had something on my calendar, so I bumped it up to this week, and then we'll meet again in May 5th. So we'll have 3 weeks in between now and when we meet again. And so if you didn't get a chance to do the breaking bread or some of the other activities, we have a long period of time to try and catch up. What we are going to try and do between now and the next time, I'm sure that many of you are already doing the volunteering activity in some capacity. So I'm hopeful that that's not an additional job for anyone. But if it is, I'm sure you all know how powerful volunteering is and how much it allows you to put yourself into somebody else's shoes. The other activity that I'm going to ask you to do in the next couple of weeks is exploring our biases. There is a lot of implicit bias, and you hear the word implicit bias a lot of times with law enforcement. You might see it in the medical field. You might see it in education. You might see it even in banking, right? So we come to our experiences by information. And the difference between an implicit bias and an explicit bias is that an explicit bias is something that we know we have. An implicit bias is going to be something that we didn't actually know that we had. And so we have an activity where I'd like for you first to just sort of say, do I have a bias towards this or not? And I'd love for you to challenge anything that you say, I don't have a bias to that. I didn't know, I mentioned earlier today that I have diabetes. I have an implicit bias towards people who are able-bodied. So that means that I have an implicit bias. When I see somebody who is disabled, I automatically assume that they need my help. I myself have a disability. I did not think that I would have a bias towards somebody who is able-bodied versus not able-bodied. I learned that by doing this activity, because I would have automatically said, no, I don't have a disability, or I don't have a bias toward this. And so I challenged myself, and I took the implicit bias test that Harvard has produced, that if when you're doing it, you're like, this is rigged, it's kind of an indication that you probably didn't know you had a bias towards that. And it's not a bad thing to have a bias. It's a bad thing to know you have that bias and then act upon that bias. Once you know you have a bias, you can sort of adjust how you engage in the world. So for me, now that I know that I have this bias towards able-bodied people, when I come across somebody who is in a wheelchair, I will ask them, would you like me to get the door for you? Rather than assuming they need me to get that door for them. And that's the difference. And so that is the one activity. And then the other activity is to volunteer. And here are some links for places where you can find other places to volunteer. But as a pageant applicant, I am sure that you are doing volunteer for the work that you're doing in anticipation of the competition. So if you are already doing something that is volunteer based, please just reflect on that and you can share based on that information. So that is the plan for the next time. And this other activity, which is improving emotions, is kind of a fun thing to do. You'd be surprised at how our body language communicates to others in the wrong way. And when I did this with a group of young teenagers, they were trying to simulate frustration, and every other word besides frustration came out. And it was just really interesting. Some of the reflection that the students gave me was, I couldn't believe how unclear I was at communicating something that I thought I was clearly demonstrating. And so that was really interesting to me. So if you have an opportunity and you have a group of people, it's very much like charades, but it's with emotions. All right. So we are all set for today. I will see you on May 5th. And Savannah, your answer, the answer is yes, I can hang out for a couple minutes. So thanks everyone for coming by again.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. What's up, Savannah?
So, I haven't been able to start any of the activities. I've tried to, but I'm currently on a college tour,
Okay.
and my teachers, I guess, just love to make us have a crazy workload right before break.
No
But
worries.
yeah, I have definitely looked at them and I've tried, I've thought about it, but I haven't had a great place to start.
That is totally fine. Part of like you said, you know, you've thought about them. That's half the battle, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like if you didn't even bother and opening it, then it just, but it's making an impact already on you. And coming to these meetings and listening to your colleagues, your peers talk about them, absolutely. And there's no like penalty for not doing it, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
no, I just I want to be able to complete them and I want to be able to
Well,
do it
you'll
in the
do
way
it
that
when you
feels
need
best
to.
for myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You got
Yeah.
this. I'm not worried about you at all.
All right. Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for checking in with me though. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at it. Tomorrow I have nothing going on, so that's probably when I'll do it.
Also, remember it's important to take a break. So also give yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
No, I'm one of those people that like I can't just do nothing or else I'll go crazy.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
You are all set.
But
Appreciate it.
all right. Thank you.
Of course.
Have a great
Bye.
rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.